Coming up on today's podcast, over 15% of people look at their phones during sex. What is going on? We're talking screen time on today's podcast. Hi, I'm Tony. I'm an author, presenter at Sky Sports, and years ago I went to the jungle and got ill. Very ill. So this is my podcast adventure to find more energy. It's packed with biohacking, science, health tech, supplements, and some of the most well-known experts on the planet.
This is something I spent 4 months of my life doing with electrodes glued to my head so that you can do a lifetime worth of meditation.
Decide what you don't give a fuck about, which is something you don't care about.
Some of it gets quite out there.
I had some stem cells sent up to my house that I had stored, and then I injected myself with mannitol.
And we even hack hangovers.
Alcohol is poisonous. So is water and oxygen in the wrong dosage.
So that's my podcast, Zestology. Live life with energy, vitality, and motivation. Welcome back. On today's podcast, navigating a world brimming with tech. I love to read historical fictions, but it's probably the best way that I relax. And one of the things I'm always slightly jealous of is when I read, it's something in the 1930s or the 1730s or whatever it might be. Their lives seem very uncomplicated compared to ours. They seem like there's very few distractions in the evening. They might be listening to the radio, or if it's the 1730s, they're just sitting in an armchair until the sun goes down and then lighting a candle and going to bed, as far as I can tell. And these days it's a bit different. So today I have got our favourite tech wellness advocate, Brice, on again. She's been on this podcast a couple of times before. She is so good. Her passion is making sure you have information you need to thrive in a world brimming with tech such as ours. And today, featuring EMF blocking phone cases, do they work? Because I made a big laundry list of things to talk to August about, and she answered all my questions. Crystals for blocking EMFs, do they work? Healthy screen time, what is it? Leaving our phones out of the bedroom at night. And this incredible stat, over 15% of people look at their phone during sex. I mean, what are they looking at that point? You know, there's probably some things which are worse than others, but checking your WhatsApps at that point probably isn't the right thing to do. Here is August on Zestology. August, we're recording. It's great to speak to you again.
It's so good to see you, Tony. Thank you so much for having me back. And then someday we're going to get to the bottom of your time in the jungle.
We are.
Did you ever,
someday.
Right? A whole podcast about that.
I'd like to. Yeah. I mean, you are one of my favorite guests, always because I've got so many questions to ask you. And I'm so passionate about this area. And I still don't think many people actually think about it.
I think it's but more and more, right? Awareness is growing on all things digital wellness, like, our digital detoxes and the EMF and the blue light and privacy issues. So there are so many different categories to talk about, but it all ends up pointing directly to tech wellness and how we can do better. And it's all about balance, right?
And I want to start by asking you, I've got a lovely office now and I go in and there's lots of other people working in all very dynamic businesses. It's a lovely environment and everybody is walking around with, do you know what I'm going to say?
Their cell phone in their hands.
No, AirPods.
What? Oh gosh, even worse.
Now I can see you're wearing some very special headphones. So let's start with AirPods. Why people will be listening to this and thinking, what's wrong with my AirPods? I love my AirPods.
Well, EMF radiation has been proven to have a biological effect. And so many people, the more that they're exposed, are noticing symptoms like anxiety, headaches, palpitations, dizziness, mind fog. So all of these things are connected to EMF and what's going straight into your ear with direct access to your brain when you're wearing AirPods. Yeah. EMF radiation. That's what it is, in the form of a connection to Bluetooth. So I know it's a delicious experience, right? I mean, I popped one in. I had to see what it was about. I could not even stand it. And so if they're, especially young people, if you're experiencing any kind of tinnitus, any ringing in the ears, any of those symptoms that I just mentioned, try a week or two without AirPods. I'm using AirTube headsets. So this pocket of air stops any extraneous radiation that could be coming up the wires, up to here, up to the microphone, and it stops it from getting into my ears because this is a hollow tube. This is a hollow tube. And actually I have great sound with these because the air tube actually amplifies the sound. And these are the safest way to listen to music, to talk on the phone, to do what you need to do. And I know it's a statement, isn't it? AirPods are a statement of, I can move, I'm free, but these are wired into my phone. My phone, really most of the radiation dissipates at about 2.5 to 3 feet. Yes, it really goes that far and it is that powerful. And it really, really, I promise you, has a biological effect. It's connected to cancer. And like I said, the symptoms that a lot of us who are sensitive feel, infertility, reproductive issues,
and are
memory.
they Bluetooth AirPods?
These are not Bluetooth. These are hardwired. These are the real thing.
Oh no, yours ones are hardwired, but the AirPods are.
Oh, they're Bluetooth.
They're Bluetooth.
They use a Bluetooth connection. So then, of course, your phone has to have all antennas on. So you have to have your Wi-Fi on, your Bluetooth, your cell phone radiation.
Yeah.
And by the way, here's the biggest thing about AirPods. They're always sending out that signal. And if you're not using them, if you're not listening, if you're not waiting for a call, pop them into their little pack and they go off. Yeah. So that's another thing. I think that people just forget that they're even there.
Yeah, exactly. They wear them all day. Yeah. Obviously, that I've got a young child, and it's funny because I have increasingly noticed a habit of people going to the playground with their child and one AirPod in. And I just think that is so bad. I mean, it's very naughty because you're not giving your child a full focus.
That's really a form of screen snubbing, isn't it?
I want to ask you about screen snubbing.
Well,
tell me what screen snubbing is.
It's quite the same thing that you're talking about here, but in the form of secret screen snubbing. But don't think your kid doesn't know, right? Your son knows when you're not giving him 100%, right?
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So screen snubbing, also called fubbing, is that's a hard term. So I just prefer to call it screen snubbing because it happens at your computer, it happens at your tablet, it happens at your phone. So you're in the middle of a conversation and you guys are like way connecting, right? And then all of a sudden somebody does this. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. For people who are just listening, you're looking away from the screen and you're looking down towards your phone.
Right. And it's really become a problem. First of all, it doesn't feel nice. And researchers are showing that it can cause anxiety and depression. And being screen snubbed can help you, or it causes you to focus on the negative. And what's really interesting? So women in one study, this is just the first part of this, a small study done at a presentation about digital wellness. And from a university, and I will get her name. Let me tell you her name, Tracy Dennis. So she's a professor and a researcher. And in her first result, she found that women are much more likely to be hurt by screen snubbing. However, men hold on to that anger longer. So it hurts both of us. It's not good. And children are especially sensitive to snubbing by their parents. So we have to be oh my goodness. I'm going to link you to a video from a study. And the video was done by ABC News, and it shows this child, and this is just one of hundreds of kids that were recorded. And so mom's, playing with the child, and then all of a sudden she starts looking at her screen, and the children become despondent. And as this happened more and more, what ends up happening? Kids show less emotional resilience.
Right.
And as a dad, resilience is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Our children have higher self-esteem. They do better in school. They do better in relationships when they have resilience. Yeah. So if we know that looking away at your screen causes them to have less resilience, I think we'll be more aware and we'll, just give them the attention, all of us, each other, that they deserve. Yeah. So yeah. Wow. Good for you for noticing, because that AirPod, it's really a continuation of the snubbing, isn't it? You're playing with your kids going,
yeah,
look. And then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, okay. Well, it's the same thing.
Oh, it's so, it's really naughty because it's sort of like saying, I'm so bored of because the thing about 3-year-olds, bless them, is that most of the time they are so much fun, but sometimes the play gets quite repetitive, as you well know. You've been through it all, August.
I remember.
The sort of when you're playing the bus game for the 50th time, I get it. I get it. You need a bit of respite, but I don't think the answer is going to the playground with 1 or 2 AirPods in. But it's always like, because you haven't got a wire, you don't feel as guilty. You see, so that's where the snubbing thing comes in.
Right. And so isn't it great that our phones can take messages for us? We can get text messages and phone messages. And what's the most important thing in your life? Your son, your child. Yeah. And as long as you're with him and your wife, do you really need to hear anything from work? I mean, really?
Yeah.
We should and we do live for the benefit of our children, especially when they're toddlers, when they're babies, when they're teens. I mean, that's where your attention needs to be. And if you're with them, really, what else matters? Yeah,
absolutely. This is why I love talking to you, August. I always feel so energized. You've got great energy about you, as well as the information aspect. You've got good energy. So thanks. I feel inspired already.
Really? Thank you, Tony.
Yeah.
Thank you. I follow so many of your tips. So.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And I know you're a listener as well, which is great. But now I'm going to ask you something now, and I've got a feeling you might not be happy about it. I'm going to show you the case that I've got for my phone.
Oh.
It's a gadget guard. Have you heard of Gadget Guard?
I have not heard of the cute name.
A cute name. So the thing about the Gadget Guard, I've got a feeling you might not like it, but let's see. The Gadget Guard apparently sends the signal out only out of the back of the phone, not the front of the phone. So in theory, you can put it in your pocket and it won't go into your precious areas. You can put it to your phone, to your ear, and it won't go into your ear. Are you happy about this or not?
Not exactly. So I think that's very similar to Pong and Alara, who invented that technology. And so what they do is they do focus the radiation to go out the back, and that's different than a shielding case. However, as you were demonstrating to me, where was your hand? Where was this part of your hand?
Yeah, I was in the front of the
there.
phone. Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. So right. Yeah.
And do you think that the radiation is laser directed away from you? No, it's not laser directed away from you. It's going into your hand, and what's really close to your hand? Your brain, your ear.
Yeah.
You're getting a little bit of distance from that radiation going directly in, but we have to remember this is like a plume that goes all around the phone. And even if we're pushing it away, it's not, wait, it's over there 20 feet. No, it's still in our environment. Right. It's in our bubble. Yeah. So are you feeling good? Because I know you're a sensitive person. Are you feeling different using it this way? Have you noticed any different? Is your hand numb or tingling more? Or do you feel great?
I don't feel any difference. But I think that's the interesting thing about EMF, isn't it? There's for some people, there is an aspect of feeling it. And then for some, there's an aspect of not feeling anything, but it's still not good for you.
Exactly. Just like people who sneeze around smoke and people who say, get out of the room. I can't stand this smoke. There are people who don't feel anything.
Yeah.
But still, we know because science shows us that it affects us throughout our bodies. It's causing oxidative stress. And that's actually one of the ways that EMF radiation hurts us as well, is via oxidative stress on our cells. So I say you get a meter. Do you have a meter, right?
No, I don't have a meter. Are they good?
Well, they're really good for solving questions like you just posed. The meter doesn't lie. So it's going to show you unequivocally the amount of radiation that's coming from the phone with the case and without the case. Right. And so you do some experiments. You make a call, and while you're still on the call, you put the case on, take it off, same call. You watch a YouTube video, put on Wi-Fi, turn on Bluetooth, do lots of little experiments. And then you can decide for yourself if that case is good for you. I don't recommend phone cases at all because they cause phones to work harder. And when they have to work harder, They need what's called more power density, more energy to work harder to send to that connection that they're looking for via the Wi-Fi, a Bluetooth, or a cell tower. And so you're actually getting more radiation from the phone than you would be if it was allowed to work and breathe the way it was designed to.
Yeah, right. Okay. I mean, this is why it's so good to catch up with you regularly, because I used to be much stricter on putting my phone into airplane mode whenever it was in my pocket, and I've sort of forgotten that recently. So that's an excellent reminder.
And Tony, when you do, on the
Yeah.
airplane mode, there's this phantom airplane mode that's going on now.
Okay.
And do you have an iPhone or what do you have?
Yeah, I do. iPhone. Yeah.
So if you go to that control center and you see those little grayed out dots, if it's gray and not black, it's waiting to find Bluetooth or Wi-Fi anywhere. And so you need to go, you need to go into settings,
Right.
actual settings, and go off.
You can't just do that. You can't do that.
You're good.
I'm good. Oh,
Can
okay,
everyone
good.
see this? Yes. You're completely blacked out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll see those be gray instead of blue.
Yeah.
And not really sure why it happens. It seems to be iPhone's choice. So you just have to be careful.
Wow.
Good for you though. Good airplane mode.
Good. Okay. Well, I'm pleased about that. Interrupting this podcast for one moment to remind you that today's podcast partner is Masszymes. Are you taking digestive enzymes? And do you occasionally suffer from bloating and gas or constipation? I mean, if you're not taking enzymes, then you need to get involved with Masszymes, the most powerful protein digesting enzyme on the market. If you just want to check it out straight away, go to masszymes.com/zestology, or I can tell you about it briefly here, because basically there's nothing more expensive than a product that doesn't work, but this one definitely does. It's the most powerful protein digesting enzyme on the market. It contains 100,000 HUTs of protease per capsule, which sounds a lot and is a lot. It increases your absorption of key amino acids. It eliminates constipation, excess gas, and acid reflux. And these enzymes, they really work. If you're going out for a big meal, you do need some enzymes in your pocket. And I mean, I think I've spoken about this before, but I make sure if I go to a restaurant, I've got some Masszymes with me, and I'll make sure when we sit down at the table, if they say, "Can I take your bag, sir?" I'll say, "No, actually, do you know what? I'll keep it with me," because the moment the food comes, or as I'm eating the food, I'll take one, or sometimes two. It optimizes the effectiveness of the food, and especially the protein you're eating as well. And the reason I take it is actually not to optimize the effectiveness of the protein, although that's important, but digestive health. That is everything to me. And when I get my digestive health right, everything else is good, and I'm happy. So that is why you want to be checking out masszymes.com/zestology. Use the code zestology10 for 10% off. If you're in the UK, it also works, that code. Just go to BiOptimizers.co.uk and you can use that code zestology10 on any of their products, but don't tell other people, because it's a bit of a secret. Oh, it's not really, but it's intended for Masszymes, but you can actually use the code Zestology10 for anything. So masszymes.com/zestology. Use the code Zestology10 now. Back to the show. Now, the next thing on my list I wanted to ask you about is I have seen some people talking about crystals for EMF. Not just crystals, all sorts of different ideas where you can negate the effects of electromagnetic fields, radiation from cell towers, cell phones, laptops, and so on with crystals. Should I be getting a crystal?
No, you should if you love them, if you think they're beautiful. But there is zero, absolutely no scientific research showing that crystals can heal in any way. In fact, they did a study in London years ago where they gave people 80 fake and real crystals. And they did a little questionnaire beforehand, and people who believed in, dreams and the ethereal, and then people who didn't believe in it at all, whether they were holding a fake or real crystal after they meditated for 10 minutes, the people who had those kinds of, what do you call it? Just like ethereal beliefs, noticed that a fake crystal was real, but it wasn't. They believed that it was healing them and it was just a rock. And then people who had real crystals, the same thing happened. They believed that it was healing them if they were really what it was, the placebo. It demonstrated that and placebo, oh my gosh, there's awesome research for the placebo.
Yeah.
Up to 60% more healing if you believe that sugar pill or that fake injection is really going to help you. Now, most doctors and scientists believe that a placebo should be used in conjunction with a real healing modality.
Wow.
And so, because when it gets down to science, it's not doing anything, but our minds are so powerful, and thank God they are. That's how we get things done, right?
Yeah.
That we believe. And so I am not against crystals, but I certainly am the first one to tell you that there is no scientific evidence at all that crystals can heal.
Because I even go, you probably go to some of these wellness conferences
the biohacker,
and festivals.
yes.
Yes. We've never met in person, have we? But it'd be great to actually meet at one of these. I hope we do it at some point. Yeah. But they exhibit at these conferences, and I look and I sort of think, wouldn't that be great? I just got a little pyramid crystal in my house and then no more EMFs. But you're saying, yeah.
And no. And a nice way to look at it is, we talked about that smoke analogy a minute ago. So imagine that your house is filled with smoke, billows of smoke, everybody's smoking everywhere. Are you going to take that pyramid and put it in the middle of the room and go, I'm good? Everybody keep smoking.
Yeah.
No, because you can see and feel it. And with EMF, it's invisible, but it is in no way being affected by those crystals at all. In no way has it been proven to do anything. So now I know that they'll talk about that term piezoelectric, that they were able to, by virtue of heat and pressure, see that there's a little bit of electricity in crystals, and it's in bones. It's in ceramics. It's not magic just because it can do that. It doesn't mean that that's transferring to us in any way. That's what hasn't been proven. So they're beautiful. If you want to give them a meaning, they become even more powerful, but they are not doing anything to the electromagnetic fields around you.
Okay. Now you talk about tech toxins, and you also talk about tech wellness, don't you? And screen use is something that I'm always interested to talk to you about. I sort of feel like I know a lot of this stuff, but I've got a slightly addictive personality. And every once in a while I veer into my phone being in the room when I go to sleep and being there when I wake up in the morning. And, I think most people do now. I think most people will use it as an alarm clock in the middle of the night, or they'll check it first thing in the morning. And more recently, I have thankfully doubled down on leaving it out of the room and in the kitchen on a different floor of our house. And it is astonishing how much better I'm sleeping. It really is incredible. I think not because of the EMFs, because it's in airplane mode anyway. I think it's because last thing at night, first thing in the morning, my mind is relaxing and is clear, and then doing what it does first thing in the morning. I find I have a lot of ideas first thing in the morning as well, because I'm not looking at my phone. The problem is it's so hard to keep that going. It's so addictive.
It is. Yes. It's either called obsession, addiction, maladaptive consumption. There are all these great words for it. But I think that mostly with tech wellness, what I want to talk about is conscious screen consumption. And that's what you're talking about. And if you know, and it's true, that you sleep better when it's outside the room, possibly the blue light, possibly just even though it's on airplane mode. Sometimes you're in that phantom airplane mode. Sometimes there can be a little bit of energy coming from it. You don't even know. Sometimes people leave their notifications on even when it's on airplane mode, so they get those little interruptions. But there are so many different reasons it can affect us. And one proven study, 800 students were given little tasks to do on the computer. And what they found out here, that the whole meaning of this research was, how much cognitive capacity does our phone take up in our brain that has limited cognitive capacity? We only have so much. And so they found that if the phone was turned off, completely off, and turned over, it could still take up to 30% of someone's cognition. The phone had to be outside the room, safely tucked away, out of sight. Yes, out of mind, for people to be able to focus on the task 100%. So take that into the bedroom. So the phone's there and the focus is sleep. And then the focus is waking up with remembering your dreams, maybe running to your gratitude journal, thinking about the goals for the day. Well, it's interrupted if the phone is within vision distance, even if it's turned off and over. It's like it's calling your name, Tony.
It certainly is. It's not a natural way to wake up, because the first thing you think is, oh, I'll check my phone. And you don't give yourself even just a few moments to properly wake up. It's quite alarming, isn't it?
Isn't it? And well, now it's been proven. It's in a very good scientific study.
That's fascinating. I'm really interested in that. And I still think that people don't, and I'm including myself in this, I don't have the self-control. I mean, often I'll check it in the middle of the night if it's in the room.
Wow.
And I know. And I know all this stuff, and I'll still check it in the middle of the night. I know it's bad. Wow. So it's not in there now anyway. But listen,
wait. One thing I have to tell you. Did I tell you this last time? Had this study actually come out? This is a crazy study by SureCell that said that they interviewed 1,000 people and 17% admitted to looking at their phone during sex. What? What?
Yeah.
Right?
That is extraordinary.
Yes. I mean, and people there are so many different numbers out there, but the Pew Research, I think from 2019, found out that people look at their phone up to 262 times a day. Now, so this feels like another planet to me, because since I do have electromagnetic sensitivity, I don't love holding my phone. I don't love being around my phone. And since I'm all about balance, I have a grounding walk every morning. I write in my gratitude journal every day. I'm pretty, into the analog life, and I love it. I have a beautiful analog alarm clock, German made, that I just adore. Do you love that clock? And so anyway, it's hard for me to fathom needing or wanting to pick up my phone that much. And for those people who are there, just a little bit of conscious cell phone consumption, a little bit of realizing that if your phone is making you feel bad, put it down. Because a lot of that energy that we get when we're looking at our phones isn't pleasant. Sometimes we feel pulled.
No, exactly.
Sometimes we feel stressed. So if that little thing that was designed to make your life great isn't making you feel good, put it down.
And have you heard of these? There are sort of safe lock boxes where you can put something in a box and then lock it, and you can't get in.
If necessary, right?
I mean, that's. I feel like a lot of people need that, and I possibly need that as well.
Tony, you talk about your walk around meetings.
Yeah.
At our office, we have no phone meetings. So no screen meetings. The only person that gets a screen is the one that's making a presentation, on the screen.
Yeah.
And then guess what happens? Everyone pays attention. There's so much focus on what's actually happening, and meetings get done in a quarter of the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Our brains are always looking for something for distraction. And I certainly find when I do live presentations, I turn up and they're like, okay, have you got your slides? And I said, no, I've not got any slides. And they look really shocked. But actually, I just find that when you're doing a live presentation in front of a lot of people, they love for their eyes to be drawn to something else so they can relax and not actually focus on you. So I just don't use slides.
What a good tip.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, and you're so engaging, and, it's so much, I'm sure that people love watching. I'm going to watch your presentation.
Yes, please do. Yeah. Yeah. No, I do find it makes a difference. It also saves having to put slides together for a presentation. So it's a double win, really.
That's so good. I like that.
Yeah. But I think that still there's such an awareness issue around the detrimental screen time and how it sort of plays havoc with our mind and our nervous system and our attention span. And I still don't really feel like this is being given the attention it deserves. I feel in 10 years' time, there'll be a lot more emphasis on helping people to manage this. And especially now, any of my friends who've got kids from sort of 8 to 18, they have a nightmare with screen time, absolute nightmare, because it's all they ever want to do. And, you'll see my friend's got a 6-year-old, he's just running outside, absolutely loving it. And then the moment he gets in front of a screen, which is what he wants to do, he will sit still for 3 or 4 hours at once. I don't think we really understand yet properly how to moderate screen time in ourselves and other people.
I think it's really difficult to be a parent today because of what you're talking about. But I know the antidote. It's play. It's play. It's balance. It's modeling that kind of behavior that we want to see in our kids to our kids.
Yeah.
It's not wearing that AirPod to the park. It's not even taking that phone out when you're having dinner and when you do, a really good technique is to explain why you're on the phone. Daddy is trying to get a hold of mommy so we can talk about this. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. And so they understand, oh no, daddy isn't just staring at a YouTube video for fun, because then they'll go, oh, good. That's what I'm going to do for fun when I grow up is watch YouTube videos. So I think that and I love that we're talking about it, because just the fact that we're sharing this information will help other people expand their awareness and become more mindful about the issue. And one thing, that's fairly new is that our comprehension of things that we read on the screen is a third less than our comprehension of what we read on a printed page. So I think it's really good to encourage our children and even our children's school teachers to print out those lessons instead of asking them to go online and read something. Yeah. Because they're not exactly sure why, but we look at the screen differently. But you can think of some reasons why. First of all, we're so used to this text generation. You expect to just scroll to the bottom and see what the point is. You expect things to come fast in little bits. And then also our minds have difficulty concentrating, because when we're reading something in a book, we know it's the end of the page. We know how far we are in the book. But when we're reading on a screen, it feels like a continuous scroll sometimes. And so our minds just want to get to the end of it. They don't want to wait and comprehend because they're a little bit nervous as to where the end is. Yeah. So that's another good thing we can do. We can get out a book. We can play and get out a book. All of us need to do this.
Oh, definitely. We're almost at the end, and I haven't even had a chance to ask you about AirTags or 5G. So can we do another one? I'm going to make a note, and we'll do another one in a couple of months. Would that be all right?
I would love that, Tony.
I would too.
That'd be great.
Really, really great. But in the meantime, I've asked you this before. What is one book that you would recommend? You just talk about books. And what is one tip for living with more energy and vitality? So one book and one tip.
I was getting out a cookbook. And I saw, oh my gosh, my prescriptions for natural healing. Do you know that I've had that book, I think, for 40 years, and I know that it's still being sold at Whole Foods. Yes. I love that book.
Oh, great. I've never heard of it. I'm going to look it up.
Just alternatives, just different alternative things that you can do. Probably most of them by this time are in capsules or, are readily available now. But it was so fun to see that exact same book is still being sold. And so that means that there's still a lot of information in it that people can really learn and try. So that's a great book. Prescriptions for Natural Healing. Yeah. Big, thick, like encyclopedia. And then one tip for living with more energy and vitality. I think we covered it today. First hour of the day, just try it. No phone, no screens. See what happens. Just really take note of how you feel, what dreams you dream, what you accomplish without the phone or the computer. Just try it.
Fantastic. August, so good to talk to you. I have to really recommend your site to everybody. I get your regular updates and I always read them, and it's sort of, you could make a lot more money if you sold crystals,
Guess what? Crystals, you know how everyone's Googling EMF protection?
Right.
Crystals doubled the crystals for healing. That Google search doubled EMF protection in the last year. So more people were searching for crystals for healing than the words EMF protection. So
dear.
there's a bit of a myth. There's a bit of a myth about those crystals. Not that they're bad, not that they'll hurt you.
They're just not
that you can't believe in something. You can believe and put your focus there, but they're scientifically, they are doing nothing to the EMF.
Yeah. Well, just remind people of your site and where they can find you. And you have got some products on there which do work.
Yes, we do. We have really good tried solutions. A lot of them analog, like we were talking about with the phone and the air tube headsets. But we also have great ways that you can hardwire. And I love to talk about that because you avoid EMF radiation completely. It's techwellness.com. You can find me on Instagram at Tech Wellness, Facebook, Tech Wellness, LinkedIn, Tech Wellness. And we try to give bite-sized pieces of information on all of our social that you can use every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. So next time, 5G and AirTags. I read your whole thing on AirTags. My goodness.
Oh, it's a big talk on privacy, isn't it?
Wow.
And parenting. We're going to talk about parenting next too.
What's that?
That's where, in 3 months, 10,000 hashtag uses of baby ultrasound. So we start when they're in the womb and we post their ultrasounds and it's becoming, and then the baby pictures and all that, and it's becoming a privacy issue because when your children grow up, they might not be so happy that you did that. So it's just another thing to be mindful of. Mm-hmm. And on those 10,000 hashtag ultrasounds, they found that 35% had very private metadata.
Oh no.
Like birthdays and parent dates. And,
oh, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
things to think about in our digital age.
As always, really good to talk to you, August. I'll speak to you again soon.
Be well, Tony. Thank you.
That's it for today's podcast. Thank you for listening. Thanks, August, for coming on. And a quick reminder, my podcast partners today are Masszymes, the most powerful protein digesting enzyme on the market. I'm a huge advocate for taking digestive enzymes. And if you're going to be taking them, you might as well take Masszymes, especially if you're going out for a big meal and especially if you're eating late at night. We find now, I must admit, I'm probably a bit boring these days, but if I'm eating anything after 7 o'clock in the evening, digestion is just a bit harder, and that's where Masszymes comes in. It is a safe and natural digestive enzyme. It's for men and women. It contains essential enzymes for better digestion. It reduces bloating and relief from constipation and gas. And if you go to masszymes.com/zestology, all the info is there. You'll get a discount applied there as well, or you can just use the code zestology10 for 10% off. And really, if you're not taking digestive enzymes at the moment, I would recommend it. In fact, what I do is when I get a bottle, I split them. I keep some at home and I keep some in my rucksack. So if I'm out and about, or especially if I'm in a restaurant and I'm eating food, I'm not quite sure what it is or where it's come from, or if I'm at the office, I've got some enzymes there as well. So Masszymes is the way to go for sure. Masszymes.com/zestology. And if you go to that page, there's different levels of discount actually, depending on how many bottles you get. Masszymes.com/zestology. That's it for this podcast. Have a good one. See you soon.